Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Hurdy Burke Internet Broadcast Network. And we're glad to have you tonight on the Power Hour. And for those of you who have grabbed the show, maybe you've seen on Danny's page, or maybe you found it in search on Google through YouTube, we're glad to have you guys. And if these shows interest you, you might mosey over to our Facebook page, Power Hour Broadcast, Danny L. Smith. Go look that up on Facebook. We've got this is our 20th podcast. Tonight we're going to talk about The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. We're going to do a book summary, and The Magic of Thinking Big contains the secrets to getting the most out of your job and your family life. Danny, take it away.
Hurdy, what's happening?
I'm good, man.
Yeah, I was going over my notes on this book. I think I read this book for the first time probably in late 89 or 1990. And I picked it up a few times since then. Actually, the book I had kind of wore out, I gave to a guy, 15 years ago. He was a guy that I would see every once in a while, and he would just whine and bellyache and just constantly complaining. And, after a while, that kind of sucks the life out of you. And, been asking him to read, giving him this book and a couple other books, the titles I suggested go read. And one morning I was walking out of my house. I knew I was going to see him that day, and I grabbed that book off my bookshelf, and I took it. Sure enough, saw him, and I told him, I said, listen, you coming to me trying to help you, it's not doing any good. And unless you read this book, there's no sense in us even talking. He took the book, and I did not see him for 15 years.
Wow.
I saw him, 12, 15. I saw him for about 2 years ago at Austin Job Seekers Network, and I was volunteering up there, and he came in, and I saw him. We said hi. We didn't talk. Asked me how he's doing. He said, fine, good. And he came back a couple of weeks later, but I don't think if he read the book, I don't know that he paid attention to it. I think it made him mad that I told him what I did. And I know if he'd have read the book, and agreed with it, he would have come back to me. But he never did. And was sure trying to help the guy, but it was kind of one of those tough love type things. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because he definitely did not believe the basis of this book, which is believe you can succeed and will. So I'm just going to take about 15 minutes and just kind of go through some highlights. Hurdy, stop me if there's something that I say or something about the book you want to talk about. But the three big principles about this book is that you've got to believe you can succeed, okay? You've got to, that one big principle is you have to think success. You've got to remind yourself regularly that you're better than you think you are. And two, you have to believe big. The author says big ideas and big plans are often easier, certainly no more difficult than small plans and small ideas. So think success. Remind yourself regularly that you're better than you think you are. In other words, never sell yourself short. And number three, believe big. Big ideas and big plans are often easier. So what is Schwartz? By the way, this book was written in 1959. I don't know if I said that well ago.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, 1959. So here's some big highlights he's got in the book. Cure yourself of excuse-itis. Just look at this. Build confidence. Think creatively. You are what you think you are. I remember hearing this years ago, and I thought, that's probably my 20s, and I heard somebody say that you're what you think you are. And I said, well, if that's the case, I'd be a girl. I was always thinking about girls. Manage your environment. Manage your environment. Think right towards people. I'll come back on some of this. Be an activationist. Learn how to turn defeat into victory. Use goals to help you grow. So, I mean, those are some, those are the big points, right? But
right.
Schwartz just does a great job. And, we've got over, 19 other books on this podcast. I've got a lot of books on different bookshelves around my house and here behind me in my office. But, there's a lot of this book that reminds me of a book, second book my wife ever saw me buy 32 years ago, was What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. This cure yourself, Schwartz says, cure yourself of excuse-itis. Somebody says, well, my health isn't good. Here's what he says about that. Refuse to talk about your health. Refuse to worry about your health. Be genuinely grateful that your health is as good as it is. And it's better to wear out than to rust out. Don't waste your life. Don't pass up living by thinking yourself into a hospital bed.
Exactly.
I could comment on a bunch of that, but cure yourself of excuse-itis. At first he breaks it down to, the excuse of, well, my health isn't good. Another excuse is, well, I'm not smart enough. You got to have brains. I don't have brains. He says, manage your brains instead of worry about how much IQ you got. I don't have any idea what my IQ is. It's probably good that I don't. Remind yourself daily that my attitudes are more important than my intelligence. That's interesting. He's plural here. My attitudes are more important than my intelligence. Use your mental ability to make history and not merely to record what's been made by others. Man, I know some people that they can sure quote a lot of stuff. And when I was going through these notes today, or going through the book, and in the notes, he says, remember that the ability to think is of much greater value than the ability to memorize facts. Use your mind to create and develop ideas. This weekend I posted and I heard a guy on a book that I'm listening to, I heard a guy say, it's not well thought. He's talking about a Bible verse that says, well done, good and faithful servant. He said it's well done, not well thought or well said. It's well done.
Good.
We're talking here about cure yourself of excuse-itis. And first one was the excuse about health isn't good, not smart enough, don't have the brains for certain things, I'm too old or I'm too young. He puts it here, compute how much productive time you have left. Remember, a person at 30 years old still has 30% of his productive life ahead of him. And the 50-year-old still has 40%. I'm sorry. Yeah, a person age 30 still has 80% of his productive life ahead of him, and the 50-year-old has 40%. and the best 40%. So I kind of did this little equation that if my productive life started at 20, okay?
Right.
I'm 62. If I'm going to live to be 90, I have 41% of my life left, my productive life left. But if my productive life didn't start till I was 30, and I pretty much say mine started when I was about 30, looking back on my life, it started about 30. That means I've got 40, and I'm going to live to 90. I've got 47% left. If somebody says, well, yeah, but you don't know you're going to, okay, well, let's still say I've got 40%, 35%, 30% of my productive life. I mean, that's a lot.
Yes, so it is.
That excuse, I'm too old. How about the excuse of my case is different? I attract bad luck. He says you'll find that not luck, but preparation, planning, and success-producing thinking and activities precede good fortune. He talks here about being a wishful thinker. He said, just concentrate on developing qualities in yourself that will make you a winner.
So, Danny, you get the impression that Schwartz is, boy, I just got a tickle. Hang on and drink a glass of water. We're on a podcast. I can do that. So I just got the impression attitude and desire outrank some things if you believe in that, right?
Well, whether you believe it or not, I think it does. Yeah, I agree.
Well, you know what? You see what I'm saying? The idea is that desire and good attitudes can overcome a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So that was my point.
Yeah, it is. Quick, to make that, okay,
I simplified it.
Yeah, you simplified it. A lot of times, okay, say it again.
I said, according to Schwartz, based on what you've said and what I've been sitting here reading, is desire and attitudes can overcome a lot of things.
Yep.
Good attitudes. Excuse me.
Yep. Do you think attitude, or let me just make a statement. Attitude can be trained.
Right.
And there's an exercise, I don't know if you've seen me do it, but where I ask a room full of people, what are the characteristics of a great husband, a great wife, a great son, a great daughter, a great boss, a great employee? And we list all those characteristics. And then beside each of the characteristics, we put, is this an attitude or talent or both? And if we list 30 characteristics up there, and that's the ideal thing to really get people thinking, 25 of those are, and the exercise works its way around, 25 of those people will say that they're attitudes. But then I bring it back around that, well, can you learn this? Oh, it's a talent. So the purpose of the exercise is to show that while it's an attitude, it's also a talent that can be learned.
Exactly. Okay.
And that's what I heard you say, and it's what I started thinking about. So how to think big. Number one, concentrate on your assets. Number two, use a big thinker's vocabulary. Use words that promise victory, hope, happiness, pleasure. Avoid words that create unpleasant images of failure, defeat, and grief. 3, stretch your vision. Practice adding value to things, to people, and to yourself. 4, get the big view of your job. Really think your present job is important. Number 5, think above trivial things. Focus your attention on big objectives. Don't get involved in the petty matter. I started thinking about Facebook. I wrote a note here, Facebook. So that's 5 steps to thinking big. Then he says how to think and dream creatively. So he kind of builds on some of this.
Right.
Believe something can be done. Believing a solution paves the way to solution. Boy, I believe that.
Me too.
Try new approaches. I remember the first time I heard a mentor of mine, Paul Martinelli, said there's never one path to a solution. Number 3, we're talking about how to think and dream creatively. Ask yourself daily, how can I do better? 4, ask, how can I do more? Number 5, practice asking and listening. Big people monopolize listening. Small people monopolize talking. And number 6, stretch your mind. Mix with people of different occupational and social interest. I heard it. I just thought about. We talked about it. It was in. We haven't talked about it on this. We've talked about it on the show. We haven't gone through the book Circle Maker, but in there, author Mark Batterson, who was, by the way, same author about the good, well done versus well thought or well said, same author. He made mention that as we get older, we naturally start thinking more logically and less creatively. So that led me to doing some research. Research is Google, right? And where that the older we get, the part of our brain that thinks logically gets more active. The part of our brain that thinks creatively becomes less active. Now, this isn't a genetic thing like gray hair and wrinkles, and you can change it. So this section right here made me think about that, about build confidence and destroy fear, that did maybe a little bit, but how to think big and, stretch your vision, think above trivial things. Think creatively, asking and listening, stretch your mind. How can I do more? How can I do better? And we'll wrap up with a couple of things on, he's got some other great stuff. This book is full of it. Use your goals to help you grow, how to turn defeat into victory, think right towards people, get the action habit. Finally, he has a whole section in how to use the magic of thinking big in life's most crucial situations. When little people try to drive you down, think big. When that I haven't got what it takes feeling creeps up on you, think big. When an argument or quarrel seems inevitable, think big. When you feel defeated, think big. When romance starts to slip, think big. When you feel your progress on the job is slowing down, think big.
Good stuff.
It's good stuff.
Good
stuff. You said to one of these.
Danny, the book was The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz, and that was written in 1959, correct?
1959. There are editions online that was written in 87 and I think 92.
Okay.
But the original book was written in 1959.
Right. So people can still purchase it. That's awesome.
Yep.
Short but deep.
There's a lot of good stuff in this book.
Absolutely.
I'm setting it off to the side over here. I'm going to reread it again. Won't get it done by the end of I think I've got myself maxed out what I'm going to finish up by the end of the year. But by the way, if anybody wants to wonder what I am reading, you can go to DanielleSmith.com. Or not what I am reading, but what I have read I keep track of it, DannyLSmith.com, and then there's a link there that says reading blog. When I first started that a few years ago, I was putting my notes on there. Don't do that much anymore, but DannyLSmith.com.
Yeah, I'll put a link in there for you on the podcast too, so people can find you. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Herdy.